Are you considering doing a PhD? Then this video blog is for you. I am Dr. Jessica, your transformational sociologist. What that basically means is that I help you craft your place in the world in a way that is suitable for you, in a way that is designed by you. It's not just an accidental fluke that you do what you do, but you can design and shape your realities in the way you see fit. I also work with organizations such as councils, governments, or private organizations to help them craft places that can enable their people to thrive. Now, enough of introductions. So today we are going to look at the doctoral journey. Listen up whether or not you want to do a PhD. Now, if you're not wanting to do a PhD, that's fine. But in this video, we'll talk about how you can encourage and support your friends or colleagues that are actually on this journey or considering this journey. Do you know, oftentimes when I was doing my PhD, I'd find people, acquaintances, perhaps not friends, telling me, oh, if I only had the time, I too could do this. It's easy. Well, let me tell you, unless you've been on this journey, you would not know whether it's easy or hard. And having been on this journey and having interviewed several others that have been on this journey, it is not easy. So if you are secure within who you are, you would be encouraging your colleagues or friends who are on this journey. Now, if you are someone that is considering doing a PhD, fabulous, well done, great start. It is a rewarding journey, but it is also very challenging. So in this video, we'll look at some of the challenges that you might face and how through it all, you can continue to awaken your greatness and live your best life. You can craft a world and a position for yourself in the way that you think is best for you. Firstly, I would encourage you, before you dive headfirst into anything or in this academic adventure, it is essential for you to be well prepared and informed. In this blog, I'll again give you some tips on how you can be well prepared and um, as you go through this journey. You see, when I started my PhD, I was a full-time employee, self-employed person. I was pregnant, and it was full on. But no one necessarily taught me some of the tricks and trades of how I can maneuver through this journey. So here I am trying to offer you some of the tips that I didn't get for myself. So the first step is to have a clear motivation of your research interest. You know, there's lots of things that in the world that we can research, but a PhD is something that you need, it requires a substantial commitment of time, effort, and resources. So ensure that you've got a genuine interest for the subject you want to study and a clear research interest. Now, for example, I've always been interested in human behavior and how humans can bring out the best versions of themselves. And I was also interested in improving the places that I was in. And so I put these two together, and my PhD looked at the sociological phenomenon of people movements and how all these people movements influenced and impacted the person who was moving and the place they were moving into, and also the people in the place that have lived in one place for a long time, and how eventually that all impacted on the identity of the place. So I put all my common interests together and created a thesis that fit what I was interested in. But that was a long journey. Through COVID, it was even harder because they were, in good faith, I was getting feedback from people on what I should or could do based on their interests. And because I wasn't really sure what was right or what was not so right in doing a PhD, I used to follow different advice that in hindsight, I think, I should have stuck to my guns and did what I felt, the path that I thought was best, whilst incorporating valuable advice when appropriate. So if there's a topic that you wish to pursue, that's great, but it should be a topic that is of benefit to somebody, to society, to something. There is no point in doing some thesis that's no one is interested in, or that is of no value. So think about, what do you like to do and how can you add to that research? And just so you know that a master's or a bachelor's is totally different from a PhD. And someone said to me that, they understand how I felt because they'd done a master's thesis. Look, I appreciated what they'd done and I congratulated them on their master's thesis, but a PhD thesis is 6, 7, 10 times higher than a master's thesis in that you've got to come up with something new. It's not just writing a thesis based on existing theories. You've got to come up with a new theory. And so to do that, you need to be interested in the subject that you are analyzing. So figure out what that is. If I were you, I would take a piece of paper and write down the things that you are interested in, and then go and do some basic research on, has this research been done, and is there a question that's niggling in the back of your mind that no one has answered, and then look at, is it worth answering that question? And then the second thing you ought to do is to have a thorough research of programs and supervisors. Now, there may be amazing supervisors and departments and universities that you like, but you must also figure out the researcher, the supervisors that can actually help you progress in your journey, and they must also have an interest in the subject. If they are interested in A and you are interested in Z, and you can't meet halfway, the journey is going to be hard. So figure out what you're interested in and figure out supervisors that are also interested in it. A word of caution, supervisors are human beings too. They want to progress their research. So they may try to steer you in a direction that can progress their work and their name. That's not wrong at all. That's human nature. But as a PhD, someone who's potentially going to do a PhD, figure out if that is the area of research of interest to you. If it's not, then perhaps you need to figure out if there was a different way forward. The third thing I'd like you to think about is academic preparedness. While it's great to be enthusiastic and say, I'm going to do a PhD, you must also evaluate your academic preparedness for the PhD program. As I said before, contrary to what people think, a master's degree or an equivalent research experience is the basic that you need. And some fields also need something extra. A PhD is a very big step up from a master's, but if you've done a master's, you're kind of starting the journey of understanding what the thesis is. And if there are areas in which you're not prepared, try to perhaps already start, looking at your weakness and saying, how can you make that your strength? How can you strengthen your area of weakness? Now, I was advising somebody who's so intellectual, but English was hard for them. So we looked at ways that they could strengthen their English language and also communicate in a way that people understood. And now, there is a misconception here that somehow somebody who can speak English well is somehow intellectually superior. Now, if you are a person whose English is, you're not native English speaker, I think you need to discard that into the rubbish. You are worth it. You are smart. You are intelligent, and you will find a way to be able to communicate in English in a good way, and give me an email and we can figure out ways I can give you some suggestions on how you could do that. But first, have clarity that you are worth it. Do not be worried about how you're going to write English. Just be concerned about whether you're interested in the topic, whether there's a need to research the topic, and whether you've got it in you to stay in there for a long haul. The next point is funding and finances. When you first start your PhD journeys can be expensive, and I'll be honest, the universities giving scholarships don't necessarily give scholarships to PhDs that are don't always give scholarships to PhDs that are deserving. It all depends on who's got the most power. Someone might have a very good academic score, but their PhDs amount to nothing, and sometimes scholarships are given to PhDs such as that. So you can't be disappointed, um, along the way if you encounter those problems, but you must be prepared. Look, can I fund this journey, and is it worth me funding it? If that is your passion to go ahead and do it, you need to find a way to make it happen. And do not be disappointed at the kinds of PhDs that the university funds, because sometimes it's quite laughable. But you are doing this for you, so do not get disappointed or disillusioned. The next thing is that you must have work-life balance. um, used to see some of my colleagues just sitting there, and all they did was stare in front of the computer, and I wondered where it was going to take them. And it's not because of anything else other than that PhDs can be a very stressful, lonely journey. And if you are halfway through your PhD and you feel lonely, that's very natural. Again, give me post in comments or just send me a note as to how you're feeling, and we can work through that. Because PhD is a lonely journey, but do not forget that you've got a life that's beyond the PhD. You are more than your PhD, and put processes and systems in place to have work-life balance. We are going to live life once, and when you're gone, people are not just going to say this person concentrate. Even if you got umpteen number of scholarships and great awards, no, that's not going to go into your tombstone. People are going to remember the memories you created with them. So live your life fully and have work-life balance. When I say work-life balance, I'm not saying don't do any work and just sit on Facebook all day or party all night. I'm saying have the balance. Have the courage also to say no to things that are not beneficial, but have work-life balance. And if you can't find a work-life balance, speak to a friend, have a counselor, have a coach, and to figure out how you can find that balance. Nextly, have realistic expectations. PhDs, I've said this before, PhD, and I'll say it again, PhD is not an extension of undergraduate or master's studies. It involves original research, independent thinking, and facing uncertainties. Be prepared to encounter challenges and setbacks and maintain realistic expectations about the outcomes of your research. Now, you don't have to solve all the problems of the world. You just need to come up with one extension to an existing theory, or prove or disprove one little bit of an existing theory, or find out areas, or use your hypothesis to showcase that that's no change at all. But from start to finish, what matters is how you arrived at your results. It needs to have a logical flow, whatever you're doing. But be realistic about it, and also honor your PhD and know that it's not just a master's. As I said at the start of this journey, like I don't respond to these people in person because I feel they don't know what they're talking about. I've had people saying, "Oh, so you're not even a real doctor. You're a sociologist. What do you do then? Oh, so if I'm sick, do I come to you?" And then I respond and say, "Well, I work to craft places so you don't have to get sick all the time, thereby releasing the pressure on many of my colleagues who are medical doctors who can treat those that are truly sick." So I know I'm an expert in figuring out how to craft places and worlds to enable people to thrive, to try and keep people healthy, and it took me a long time to get to this space, because when I was younger, people thought I would become a medical doctor, but my life, the river of my life flowed differently, and here I am as a transformational sociologist with a PhD with the School of Business, looking at a sociological phenomenon of people movements. Now, now, it took me a long time to validate that I am worth it. So, if you are in the social sciences, if you're in mathematics or other areas, don't put yourself down. I don't think science is beneath social science. I don't think social science is beneath science. I think they're all equal, but just different. But I mean, I've known friends that have done PhDs in high sciences. Even they tell me now they've got no idea what they did, and now they're working in banking or somewhere else. So it doesn't matter what you do, as long as you do it well. And in my view, I feel I'm an applied doctorate. I want to be able to apply my thinking in real life, something that makes sense and benefits society. So whatever it is you do, make sure you're progressing your area of research to benefit future generations. And so if you're doing that, it doesn't matter if you're doing cancer research or if you're doing research on how you can make places better, it's just fine. Just be clear on your goals. Do not let outside influences undermine your value, but be realistic that this is a hard journey. But also know that at the end of this journey, there is reward waiting for you. Remember, you can do it. Be patient, be calm, and take it one step at a time. A PhD journey is a lonely journey. So you must make use of networking opportunities where you can talk to other academic colleagues, other work colleagues, other people in the industry to keep on top of what's happening in the world. And that can also open up areas of research and opportunities where you can progress your thinking, because not one of we don't have the answers to everything. We only know a portion of the pie, and someone else has got another piece. So always look forward to networking opportunities where you can better your skill. Um, and we discussed this before, workload is big, so manage your time well. Schedule it. If it's not on the diary, don't do it. And I often had this in mind. I had quite a lot going on in my life when I was doing my PhD, and COVID shut down the university. So I didn't feel I got the support that I needed. It wasn't necessarily anybody's fault. It was just that everyone was in a state of chaos and confusion with everything being closed down. So the way I wanted to do it was I set a time frame and I thought, right, I'm going to get this done within this time frame, and I did it. So set yourself a time frame within which the PhD needn't be perfect. You can work on it after you finished it. So to a level that is high enough that you get your PhD and then move on and make it useful in the real world. Why am I telling you this? Because if we wait for perfection, we'll be sitting at universities forever and ever and not achieving anything. So set realistic expectations, be very good with your time management, and don't seek perfection. Just seek to be very good in that you've delivered the outcomes that you've set out to do, especially if it's a self-funding PhD, and then go out into the world and make some use of it. I would, if I did my doctorate and I was just, I don't know, writing papers that I feel no one is going to read, in my mind, that's of no use. So I set out into the world to figure out how I can craft places so people can benefit. I'm not sure what your area of research is. Go out there and do your bit and do it well. And then you will know that your PhD has been useful. You see, the next step is to look after your physical and mental well being, because doing a PhD is mentally and physically demanding. And I know I keep stressing this, but it is. You do not understand it unless you've been on this journey. So it is. Don't worry about other people who have got no clue what they're talking about. You need to prioritize self care and look after yourself and look after your mental health. Some of the tips that I found useful for me was regular exercise, sleep, and healthy eating habits. Um, and also meditation has made me a stronger person today. Before I am a totally different person today than I was prior to my doing my doctorate. And the last, I want to finish off by talking about career paths for people with doctorates. Someone said to me, "Oh, what are you going to do? I didn't even study anything, but I'm a top manager." Well, that was great for this individual. And I'm sure lots of people would be telling you that. And that is true. Just because you've got a doctorate doesn't mean you become an expert at everything. A lot of PhDs go on to do academic work, but you don't need to just do that. You can PhDs teach you the skills to understand, recognize, identify, recognize, and create new patterns. And it also teaches you the analytical skills, whether you're science, social science, mathematics, whatever it is, it teaches you analytical skills. It teaches you the research skills, the problem solving skills, the ability to stick to a task and complete it to a high degree. And it gives you the opportunity to have an open mind and look for new possibilities. So whether you want to work in academia or in the market, if you're going to an interview and they say, like this person that told me, I'm a top manager, I didn't even study anything, you can prove to them that you've got the transferable analytical problem solving skills backed with research to make a difference, positive difference in the world. You just need to have the courage to do so. So, are you thinking of doing a PhD? Great job. Congratulations. Amazing. And do you know anyone that's looking at doing a PhD? Don't just put them down. That just shows me how insecure you are and who you are. Encourage them. Tell them it's going to be a hard journey and tell them that you're going to be there for them through this journey. It is a significant life decision that must not be taken lightly. It requires passion, dedication, commitment, and a willingness to persevere through challenges. So it is very important that it's great to listen to everybody else, your supervisors and everyone else, but then step back, calm your spirit, and undertake a doctorate in an area that you know will be beneficial for you. Also know that you may not know the answers to all the questions as you progress through your PhD. There will be confusions and chaos along the way, but as long as you take it one step at a time and keep going, you will reach your goal. I guarantee you that. And then you can make something magnificent of yourself and bring out something positive in the world, whether it's in genetics or neuroscience or human behavior or place identity. Whatever it is, you will make a positive difference in this world. Now, if you like this video, click on subscribe. Don't forget to share this video to your other PhD colleagues. And feel free to send me an email at jessica.gray@drjg.co.nz and let me know how your PhD journey is going. What are the struggles you're facing? And then we can talk about how we can find pathways through the struggle to truly awaken your greatness. This is Dr. Jessica, your transformational sociologist. Until next time, sparkle wherever you are.